Welcome. We are the hosts of the Creative Rebels podcast.
A podcast to help you find happiness and fulfillment in a creative career.
This series of videos we're calling Creative Thinking, and it's where we are going to be directly answering your questions.
If you're a freelancer, creative professional, or you're just getting started, we're here to help.
There's literally never been a better time in history to make a career from being creative. So many people are going to tell you that you can't do it, but we're here to tell you that you definitely can. Welcome back, Rebels,
to another episode of Creative Thinking.
This question comes in from Jennifer Rose. She says, it's my intention to work as a freelance designer stroke illustrator. She's just getting started, but wondering if we have any advice on finding your niche.
Oh, good question. I think finding a niche is so important and so exciting at the same time, because it's like when you first get started, I'd say you don't have to worry about having a specific niche straight off the bat. I think your first step should be trying to find out what your niche should be and what you enjoy, basically.
When it comes to design and illustration, you could literally do anything. You could do design and illustration around video games. You could do it around food. You could do it around golf. Literally anything.
Yeah.
Swimming. What do you love? Roller skating. I'm just naming sports now. But whatever it is that you love, you could do illustration and design around that theme and be gainfully employed in almost any niche that there is.
Yeah, I think that's what's the really, really important thing, is just finding out what you like. If you massively dislike food, don't start doing stuff about food.
Yeah.
Find stuff that you enjoy. And if there's multiple things that you do enjoy, just try all of them and then see which you enjoy the most.
I think that's the trap can be, isn't it? Is that a certain niche will be offering more money than another one.
Yeah.
So I see it with a lot of photographers who end up doing wedding photography, and it's not the thing that they wanted to do, but it pays really well, so they do it. And then, although they are doing a creative job, they actually end up unhappy because it's not what fulfills them. And I think that's a real trap that we need to avoid.
Doing that's really short-term thinking as well. I know a lot of people who do the wedding game go into wedding photography and then find it really hard to come back out of it. And then they're bitter that other people are further ahead than them who are more specialised in a niche. I think if you want to do it as a side thing, if you really need money at the start, then that's fine. But don't make that your whole thing unless you really want that to be your whole thing forever.
Yeah, and have a separate account.
Yeah.
Because it's when if you build your entire following based on a thing that you're not going to do forever, and then all of a sudden you change, that's a disconnect for your current audience who have come to expect one thing from you. And they're probably not willing to go on a journey for you to all of a sudden do nature photography if they've just been following weddings.
So yeah, definitely just try lots of different things that you enjoy doing. If you're a designer, try all sorts of different things. Do some magazine style stuff, do some more illustration based things, do some logo design, and just see what you enjoy the most. And from there, start to build up a portfolio of work that resembles that, and then start to approach clients that are based around that niche. And it doesn't matter as well if you think, okay, let's try this. You start to build a portfolio, you go and get some jobs, and then you start doing them and you're like, actually, maybe I don't enjoy this. It's completely fine. Is when you're getting started, just try as many things as possible, because you might find something further down the line that you absolutely love that you didn't even realise you liked at the start.
And I mean, talking about niches, I know someone who his niche is pro wrestling. So I know you don't know very much about this topic, but he just started doing designs of wrestlers for his own fun. CM Punk, Hulk Hogan, famous wrestlers, he would do he was making digital prints of them. And through sharing that work, he started to get a little bit of work working for independent promotions. So an independent promotion will put on pro wrestling in your local area, and they'll promote shows and things like that. He started doing a little bit of work for some of those. And over the years, he's grown that now into a really successful business where, in fact, he actually got picked up by WWE, which is the largest wrestling promotion in the whole of the world, and actually did a poster for one of their live events. So, I mean, this is starting on such a small scale. Firstly, producing for yourself, just basically fan art, and then eventually ending up working for sort of one of the biggest companies in the world.
I suppose with picking something, you don't want to pick something so niche that there's not the market for it. I think it's really important to think if there are with wrestling promotions, say there's obviously a limit to how many actual events happen every year. So if you're based in the UK and you're doing UK based promotions and there's only 40 events a year, that work can't be split between too many people. So I think you do really need to think about the market as well.
Unless you're the best.
Unless you're the absolute best, yeah. But
if you outwork everyone else, if you go to every single show, if you set up a table outside where all of the fans are queuing to get into the venue, if you're hungry and if you're clever at marketing, and if you make sure you get on the radar of all of the organisations and you get featured by them, then I think that could definitely work.
I think it is completely possible, but when you're getting started, that's not going to be the case. And if you've got bills to pay,
I will choke slam you through this table.
But yeah, I think you do have to kind of look at the market and think, well, are people actually employing for this? Because if you're massive into designing stuff from 1996 and there's not really a market, no one's really purchasing that, like, you need to be a bit broader. You need to think like, well, look at the market and think like, well, who is getting employed? Where does it look like there's enough work? And then go down that route with something you enjoy doing.
I suppose I really like the food analogy that we touched on in the beginning, because you could go super niche within food, that you could just illustrate around Chinese cuisine, and then become known and established within that. But then you can also spread out because it is still within food. Yeah. So like a niche within a niche is quite cool as well.
I think that's a great way to think about it. And with the wrestling analogy you made before, if you're massively into wrestling and you can't get those wrestling jobs, go sports and try and think of the bigger niche as a whole, or niche if you're listening in America.
Niche.
The biggest niche as a whole, because then you can move around within that area and you can be flexible. But if you pick something really, really specific to start with, you might find it too hard to move around.
And what you'll find is, as you start on your journey, it will actually take you elsewhere. I think just starting is the main key, because just pick something and go for it. If you think you might have fun doing that, it will lead somewhere, because that's what always happens. And I think what you'll find, and what I found, so many people I've spoken to, is that the plans that you have in the beginning for where you think your career is going to end up almost never happen. They always end up taking these weird turns because of different opportunities that you pursue due to the path that you're creating for yourself.
And a lot of people we talk to as well they haven't started yet because they're too busy trying to pick this niche. They're trying to get too specific and too perfect with it to start with. But just start, because that's the most important thing, and you won't find out what you like doing unless you start doing something. Like, you can only find what you don't like doing by starting.
Pick something, go with it, and see where it takes you.
Definitely.
We hope you enjoyed that episode. If you have a question, just leave it in the comments below.
If you got any value from this episode, please leave it a thumbs up. And if you want to watch more content from us, please subscribe.
And if you know someone who might get value from this episode, please share it with them.
See ya.